now that I put you on the spot, now why don't you propose your first 1 or 2 questions? Fair? Fair? Okay.
That was the dilemma I had. In other words, believing strongly that there is Hashgacha Pratis, taught by the same woman who went through the Holocaust and knew her parents were murdered, and her sister was murdered, and her niece was murdered, and etc. That person believing that, and I coming to believe the same thing. And on the other hand, wanting to reconcile the Hashgacha Pratis of the things that happened to my mother, where she was saved from the wolves and saved from this and saved from this, so that she was alive and now I would be alive. How would that, how can that be reconciled? So I had the problem of Hashgacha Pratis, the belief of Hashgacha Pratis would intensify the problem of a knowing, all-present God allowing, or in fact not even allowing, instigating, guiding, commanding, this to happen. So I was happy to say that happy to see that in certain aspects I could perhaps reconcile it by saying, there are times when that guiding force of God, the divine, absents himself from the world by not being here in presence, so that some events do unfold by people choosing to be evil, you might say.
Hey, let me ask you, stepping back, would you say it's relatively profound that God, as soon as God created the universe, would you say that's pretty profound?
That God created the universe?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say it's pretty profound that God, if God exists, created life as we know it?
Yes.
Would you say it's pretty profound that God, if the God exists, created your parents, allowed the creation to occur? Okay. In Haggadah Dayenu, right? Dana, these are pretty profound unfoldings, right? Do we then have to say that God guided your late mother tying her shoelaces? Do we have to go to that point? Must we go to that point? Or might we say we don't have to go to that point?
I accept the proposition that we don't have to go to that point.
Right, we don't have to go to that point.
We don't have to go to that point.
Right. Even though your teacher told you that we go to that point.
Oh.
Is that true?
Yes.
Right. And that's my point.
Yes.
That's my point. We don't necessarily have to go to that point. That God, if God exists, directed your late mother to go to tie your shoelaces.
Yes.
If one wants to go there,
But that having been said, you don't have to.
Right.
If you are time and time again given food, like the miners in that mining accident, you must, to some extent, say it's not just happening because the heavens opened up and it does it on its own.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? The miners understood after a while, knew that they had been found after a length of time, and they were being given food by people who were still trying to take them out of there. Okay.
So, if we said that as a general proposition, God is contracted, God exists, is contracted from the here and now. But we also said simultaneously, and here comes the finesse, that we, individual level, have the possibility of piercing the veil of cosmic consciousness and imploring divine aid into the here and now. Then we do finesse both simultaneously. Is that sort of true? If you follow my drift.
Yes.
And that's what I said.
And that part I am very comfortable. So that the contraction is there,
But there's
the heshtaponim is there. The hiddenness of God is there, which allows other things to happen.
Bad things to happen.
Yes.
But the possibility exists
that I can ask
I can ask for and pierce the veil of cosmic consciousness.
Right.
So we intersect emotionally and intellectually now. That's where I'm at. Okay? Okay.
And the second portion is that the more you either implore, the more you are cognizant of, the more that you are open to the divine, the more you can bring it into your life.
Right.
And that's where grateful comes from, though. In other words, you need to have something that you feel is coming to you, maybe non-deserving, you might say, not earned, but as a grace that makes you grateful for the good that you have.
Okay.
And maybe the bad that you have.
Okay. maybe on the grateful subject, maybe we can be grateful that there is a universe. Maybe we can be grateful there is life at all. Maybe we're grateful that we had the opportunity to be born. Maybe we can be grateful that we have the opportunity to love and to laugh. Okay?
Maybe, for sure.
And maybe you'd be grateful that we're in a life, even if it's not so perfect, that we're rocking and rolling in this life.
I'm not sure about that.
Think about it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Okay. Let's go back to your discussion, if we may, of before. You know, when you're in the vortex of problems, you say, I don't want problems. But stepping it back, when you see the possibilities unfolding, notwithstanding the problems, do you not have a different possible perspective? Right, absolutely. So we have to relax a little bit. You know, it's easy to, you know, the corpse in the pine box has no problems. That entity has no problems. The 20-year-old looking for a husband or whatever, she has problems. She has problems.
She thinks she has problems.
She thinks she has problems. And she does have problems. But overall, which does she rather be? The 20-year-old looking for problems, or the corpse in the box?
Depends on the person.
Depends on the person, right. Fair enough. It depends on the exact situation. But very few people do commit suicide. Very few people.
Okay.
A net down.
This is true, right?
Very few people. The number is very small.
Right. Most people would choose a 20-year-old.
Right. Most would choose that option. Option A.
Number one.
Door number one, not option B. They may say they'd rather be the corpse in the pine box, but they really don't. They really have all the problems and opportunities and play it out. Push comes to shove.
I once heard a psychologist speak who was in charge of a group of people who had chronic debilitating diseases. And he said that the majority of people in that group, now they could have been a separate group because they were coming to him anyway, so they were selected.
That's true.
But the majority of people said that their life experiences had brought them to a different level of understanding and appreciation of life, and they were even grateful to being where they were.
Right. Well, it's general realm of v'chayim, choose life, with all its myriad of plus and minuses. I have a 18-year-old son, Solomon, you know, and we use him as a sounding board. I used him as a sounding board when I was writing Summa 2. And if I asked Solomon, you know, what do you think of tragedy? He says, you know, tragedy itself is a proof of the divine, that we have existence, that existence occurred at all. And he says, even tragedy, the possibility of tragedy is pretty incredible. Like I almost fell off my chair to the day.
18-year-old, wow.
No, 13-year-old.
13-year-old?
Right.
Oh my, that's very profound.
Even the possibility of tragedy is proof of the divine, that there is existence, there is reality, that this all could unfold.
You taught him well.
Well, it's both ways. It's both ways, It's both ways, frankly. So, now, of course, you don't want to be the vortex of tragedy. None of us do. But if you step back from it, the possibility that it can exist at all is pretty profound.
Yeah, but your thought about the fact it doesn't matter if it's 6,600,000,
One.
It comes down to that
one.
Does it necessarily have to be that way? Is difficult for a compassionate human. If I feel that, there's no question that the divine should feel that. And why would he not choose otherwise? But, we have this thing that, maybe Voltaire said, this is the best of all possible worlds. Is it true, is it a given, that this is the only way, the best possible way?
The only way.
The only way.
So I deal with it in book 2. Okay, so I deal with book 2, and how I deal with it in book 2, of course, the whole book, right? But I propose, originally there was 0. And divine force divides 0 into pluses and minuses, good and evil. But that was the only possibility. You could not just divide 0 into good or just pluses. There had to be, only to divide 0, you had to divide pluses and minuses. That's the only way, according to the hypothesis, that we could have anything at all. Unfortunately, or in French, malheureusement, which is a fuller word, unfortunately. That was the only way to divide the void and to get rocking and rolling with the universe, with the cosmos, even for God.
And I look at it backwards because I can understand that. I don't like it, but I can understand it.
Exactly.
Right.
None of us like it.
Right.
We can on some level deal with it.
And that is comforting. That is comforting.
Be comforting because you can have both the divine and evil simultaneously.
Right. And I have less tinus. What is the word?
Yes.
I have less
tinus.
Yes, I have less tinus.
Argument. I'll complain.
You complain to
I can deal with that.
Because this is the way it's got to happen.
It was the only way it could be.
The only way it could be. If you want the good, then you have to
have the evil. Malheureusement, unfortunately.
Right. Unfortunately. But this is it.
This is even for the infinitely powerful God of Israel. That's the best that was possible. Because you cannot go from nothing to only good, unfortunately. You only go from nothing, you have to divide into male and female, pluses and minuses, the plus integers and negative integers, good and evil and good. That's the hypothesis. It's pretty incredible to go from nothing even to a rock. It's pretty incredible to go from nothing to your children. Pretty incredible journey to get from there to here.
It also feels you puts you in a very special spot. In other words, I was, the fact that I can be I've become created makes me feel.
And you're a creator.
Right.
You were created, and you're a creator.
Right.
Let's take a little break. Okay. So now we're going to have segment 3, the final segment for today, sort of a summary or perspective on the situation. Okay, so if one of your children, tell me the age range of your children, roughly, from what to what? From
18
roughly 18 to
32.
Okay, the 18-year-old comes to you, Mom, I want to be religious, I want to continue being religious, but I have a big problem about gross evil befalling seemingly innocent people. How can you guide me as my mom? What philosophy can I adopt that works with Judaism that I can adopt, or maybe that you feel I should consider? How can I deal with the issue from your perspective now, incorporating everything that you've gone through and you know? What What's your wisdom at this point? What's your wisdom at this point? What's the best we can do here?
I could say it is a lifelong dilemma, hard to reconcile, but there are some ideas out there. One of them is by David Birnbaum, which kind of, if I can paraphrase what you've said, is that the divine is kind of what we call either the quest for potential or possibility. And in that framework, there must be both good and evil. Otherwise, there wouldn't be creation, and there wouldn't be freedom. And for man to have freedom and to be able to grow and to attach himself to the divine, then from, as you said, from the zero, from the nothing, that the void that was before, to the time that there was creation, there had to be both sides of the equation, both good and evil. And that's why evil exists, which, if you want to bring it to the nth degree, means that you, my child, have the possibility now to try to work on your potential and bring more of the good to the world, so that there will be less possibility for evil.
I think we're going to conclude on that point. A brief segment for this finale, but I think with your permission we'll conclude at that point.